Have you ever wondered what happens when brilliant ideas go horribly wrong? We often celebrate technological triumphs, but what about the epic fails? The spectacular flops that cost billions and changed the course of history? Today, we're diving deep into some of the most shocking technological failures no one saw coming. This isn't just about pointing fingers. It's an exciting journey through history and technology to uncover the crucial lessons these disasters taught us. From software meltdowns to exploding phones, get ready for a story of ambition, miscalculation, and the incredible power of learning from our mistakes. Let's start with a name that still makes some people shudder: Windows Vista. Back in 2007, Microsoft was on top of the world. Windows XP was a massive success, and Vista was hyped as the next giant leap forward. It promised a stunning new visual interface called Aero, enhanced security, and a host of futuristic features. The world was waiting with bated breath for the next evolution of the personal computer. But when Vista finally launched, the dream quickly turned into a nightmare. Users were met with frustratingly slow performance, even on brand new, high-end PCs. The biggest problem? Compatibility. A huge number of existing programs, printers, and other hardware simply wouldn't work with the new operating system. The enhanced security, while well-intentioned, resulted in an endless barrage of permission pop-ups that drove users crazy. Vista became a symbol of corporate disconnect. The key lesson here was crystal clear. You can have all the fancy features in the world, but if you ignore user feedback and fail to conduct thorough real-world testing, your product is destined to fail. Microsoft learned this the hard way, and it heavily influenced the much more successful development of Windows 7. Next, let us talk about a product that looked like it was ripped straight from a sci-fi movie: Google Glass. Unveiled in 2013, this was a wearable computer in the form of eyeglasses. It promised a future where information was literally in your line of sight. You could get directions, take photos, and read messages without ever reaching for your phone. It was bold, it was futuristic, and the tech world was buzzing with excitement. So why aren't we all wearing smart glasses today? Well, the vision crashed into a wall of reality. One of the biggest hurdles was privacy. The idea of people walking around, secretly recording everything, made the public deeply uncomfortable. The term "glasshole" was coined for early adopters who were seen as intrusive. Beyond that, the use cases were limited, and the $1,500 price tag was steep for a device that many considered a novelty. Google Glass taught the industry a vital lesson. Innovation isn't just about what's technologically possible. You must also consider social acceptance, privacy, and whether consumers are truly ready for the future you're trying to sell them. Now for a failure that was literally explosive: the Samsung Galaxy Note 7. In 2016, Samsung was riding high, and the Note 7 was poised to be its crowning achievement. It was a beautiful phone with a stunning curved display, a best-in-class camera, and an iris scanner. The initial reviews were glowing, and it was hailed as the best smartphone ever made. Sales were through the roof. But then, reports started trickling in. Phones were overheating. Then, they started catching fire. And then, they started exploding. A critical design flaw in the battery was turning these premium devices into pocket-sized fire hazards. What followed was chaos. A global recall, a ban on airplanes, and a massive blow to Samsung's reputation. The second batch of safe replacement phones also started exploding, forcing a second, final recall. The lesson was brutal but essential. In the race to innovate and push the limits of design, you can never, ever compromise on manufacturing safety and quality control. Samsung's transparent crisis management, however, did help them recover, proving that how you handle a failure is just as important as the failure itself. Let's turn back the clock a bit. Do you remember a time when nearly everyone's phone had the same iconic ringtone? That was the era of Nokia. In the late 90s and early 2000s, Nokia wasn't just a market leader, it was the mobile phone market. Their phones were indestructible, the batteries lasted for days, and they were incredibly user-friendly. They dominated the world, connecting a billion people. But then, 2007 happened. Apple launched the iPhone, and Google's Android operating system followed shortly after. The game changed overnight from hardware to software and ecosystems. Nokia, convinced their brand and hardware superiority were enough, stubbornly stuck to their own aging Symbian operating system. They completely underestimated the appeal of the touchscreen and the App Store. By the time they realized their mistake, it was too late. Their market share plummeted from nearly 50% to almost nothing in just a few years. Nokia's tragic fall is the ultimate cautionary tale in tech. No matter how big you are, you must constantly adapt and innovate, or you will be left behind. Speaking of being left behind, let's talk about the rental giant, Blockbuster. For decades, Blockbuster Night was a cultural ritual. You'd go to the store, browse the aisles, and pick out a movie. They were an absolute behemoth with thousands of stores worldwide. In 2000, a small, quirky startup that mailed DVDs in red envelopes tried to sell itself to Blockbuster for $50 million. That startup was Netflix. Blockbuster laughed them out of the room. Blockbuster saw Netflix's mail-order model as a niche gimmick and completely dismissed the threat. More importantly, they failed to see the digital tidal wave that was coming. While Netflix was investing heavily in building a streaming platform, Blockbuster was doubling down on its physical stores and punishing customers with late fees, their main source of profit. We all know how this story ends. Netflix became a global entertainment powerhouse, while Blockbuster went bankrupt, with only one store remaining today as a tourist attraction. The lesson is monumental. You must be willing to disrupt your own business model and embrace digital transformation, or a competitor will do it for you. Even the mighty Apple isn't immune to failure. Long before the iPhone and iPad, in 1993, Apple launched a device that was truly ahead of its time, the Apple Newton. This was one of the world's first personal digital assistants, or PDAs. It was a handheld device that promised to recognize your handwriting, manage your contacts, and organize your life. It was CEO John Sculley's vision for the future of computing. Unfortunately, the technology just wasn't ready. The Newton's most hyped feature, its handwriting recognition, was notoriously unreliable, becoming the butt of jokes in pop culture. The device was also bulky, expensive, and the market wasn't quite sure what to do with it. While it was a commercial failure, the Newton wasn't a total loss. The painful lessons Apple learned about user interface, portability, and processor design directly paved the way for their later, world-changing successes with the iPod and iPhone. It proves that sometimes timing and execution are just as important as the idea itself. From the handheld to the skies, let's talk about the Concorde. This was a dream of supersonic travel made real. A joint project by Britain and France, the Concorde could fly from London to New York in under 3.5 hours, traveling faster than the speed of sound. It was an icon of the 20th century, a symbol of technological prowess and luxury. Passengers would sip champagne while flying at the edge of space. But the dream was not sustainable. The Concorde was incredibly expensive to build and operate. Each flight burned a colossal amount of fuel, and ticket prices were astronomical, limiting its customer base to the ultra-wealthy. Furthermore, the sonic booms it created meant it could only fly supersonic over oceans, severely limiting its routes. A tragic crash in 2000, combined with the post-9/11 downturn in air travel, sealed its fate. In 2003, the magnificent birds were retired forever. The Concorde taught us a hard lesson in balancing bold ambition with commercial viability and environmental reality. A technological marvel is not a success if it can't sustain itself in the real world. Let's rewind to another classic battle, the format wars of the 1980s. When VCRs first entered our homes, two competing videotape formats emerged, Sony's Betamax and JVC's VHS. Tech experts at the time agreed that Betamax was the superior format. It offered a slightly sharper picture and better sound quality. Sony was confident that technical superiority would win the day. But they were wrong. JVC played the game much smarter. While Sony kept Betamax proprietary, JVC licensed its VHS technology to any manufacturer who wanted it. This meant VHS players quickly became cheaper and more widely available. VHS tapes also offered a longer recording time, which was a huge deal for families who wanted to tape movies off the TV. JVC flooded the market, and video rental stores, wanting to stock only one format, overwhelmingly chose VHS. Betamax was technically better, but it lost the war. The lesson? A superior product isn't enough. A successful market strategy, open partnerships, and understanding what consumers actually prioritize are what truly lead to victory. Finally, we come to a story that's less about a failed product and more about a catastrophic deception, Theranos. Founded in 2003 by Elizabeth Holmes, Theranos promised to revolutionize healthcare. It claimed to have developed technology that could run hundreds of blood tests from a single, tiny drop of blood from a finger prick. It was a miracle device that would make testing cheap, accessible, and painless. Investors, including huge names, poured hundreds of millions of dollars into the company, and at its peak, Theranos was valued at over $9 billion. There was just one problem. The technology never existed. It was all a lie. The Edison machines didn't work, and the company was secretly using conventional equipment from other companies to run its tests, often with inaccurate results that put real patients at risk. When whistleblowers and journalists exposed the fraud, the entire house of cards collapsed in one of the most infamous scandals in Silicon Valley history. The fall of Theranos is a terrifying reminder of the importance of transparency, ethics, and rigorous scientific validation. It shows the danger of a fake-it-till-you-make-it culture when human lives are on the line. So, from Vista's stumbles to Theranos' collapse, what's the common thread? These stories aren't just about failure. They are powerful case studies on the importance of listening to your users, the dangers of hubris, the need for adaptation, and the non-negotiable role of ethics. Every misstep, every flawed product, and every collapsed company provides a blueprint for what not to do. They remind us that innovation is a messy, difficult process, and failure is often a stepping stone, not a final destination. The lessons learned from these epic fails have shaped the technology we use and rely on every single day. What do you think? Is there a huge tech failure we missed that you think everyone should know about? Share your thoughts and your own stories in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this journey through tech history, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. Thanks for watching.